Okay. I think we are good to go now. All right, so continuing on from last week, I need to start up I gotta get rid of Number Cruncher, start up my other one. MSTC app was the guy we were working on. If I remember right, we got the controls on there, got them centered. By the way, if you upgraded to Xcode 8 on the computers that you took home, so to find out, you just go to Xcode and About Xcode. Like it'll say 8.0 for the version if it updated. If it didn't update, like the ones here, I think are all on 7.3. But the code that you developed here was on 7.3. If you take that code and you open it up on a machine that's been updated to 8, it will give you a thing that says, do you want to convert? And you do need to convert it. Otherwise, if you try to leave it the way it was and not convert it, it breaks. It won't build. If you happen to...
Is that a 9.3 target?
Yep, deployment target 9.3. Yeah. You can change that to something older if you want. But when you're in Xcode 8, this guy it'll default to 9.3.
Okay, if you do something on an 8-point version and bring it back here to a 7.3, are we okay?
No, it won't be able to read it if you converted it to the latest syntax. So what it'll do is it'll pop up with a dialog that says, do you want to convert to the latest Swift syntax? And then it'll give you the option, like for example, let's see, after the fact I can go in here and go to Edit, Convert to current Swift syntax. And I don't want to do this because I don't want to convert to 3.0. Right now I have it converted to Swift 2.3. Which is what I was going to tell you. What you should do is, if it prompts you to convert it, do it, but convert it to 2.3, not 3.0. Because 2.3 is close enough that with the current syntax that it's okay, but converting it all the way to 3.0 will probably, there's going to be some breaking changes. So for right now, just convert it to 2.3. But only do that if you are not planning on running it here, or you're planning on updating the ones here to Xcode 8, because otherwise you won't be able to run them here.
So they're not planning to do that here? Convert them?
No, I think that we're responsible for these machines, I'm pretty sure.
So like tomorrow when I come in for a different class, can I come to this computer and update this one?
Yep.
Or you could just leave them at 7.3.
Well, mine at home I think updated to 8.0.
Yeah, if you update it at home to 8.0, the sooner you do it, I mean, I know it's a pain, but the sooner the better. Because
I think mine was 7.3 when I did it, which was like last Sunday. That was the latest version.
Okay, but now since then they've released 8. And so that, yeah, when you updated it originally, it updated 7.3 and then they updated Xcode to 8. It looks totally different as far as like in the project settings. This part looks different. Like the team stuff is down in a separate section now, in a signing section. It used to be up here, up on the top, and so they changed that.
It's not a big deal if you don't update the one you have here and you have
don't update either one of them.
Either you have to leave them both at 7.3 or you have to upgrade both of them if you're planning on swapping code between the machines.
What are you going to be doing? Because if we ever have stuff you send to us, we have to be in the same version you are.
If I send you stuff, I usually don't, but I mean, I will put the source code out on Blackboard. So if you want to open that, yeah, you'll have to convert.
We'll have to be an 8, so we actually have to kind of have to do it.
But you could also just take the words. You don't have to take the whole file. You could just
copy and paste it.
I don't know how much they changed, like with the storyboard stuff, interface builder stuff. I don't know if they changed any of that stuff or not. Yeah, I mean, you could just take the source code as long as that's all that changed, and you could copy that out. But it'd be best just to upgrade. I know, like I say, it's kind of a pain, but it really, if you'd run it overnight or whatever, it's not bad.
It's like here though. Here's the hard part: is in the classrooms to get things updated. So
yeah,
maybe get paper.
I would bug Brent to do it. I can send him an email and ask him to do it too.
This one here isn't there.
Because otherwise, it's going to be really hard to keep in sync.
Right, that's what I was kind of thinking, is if you're on one side and one another,
Yeah.
to look at the code and try to make it, you could really.
The code is probably really similar, and most of the stuff we're doing, it's not much different. But it's just if you want to be able to open it, you know, you need to have 8, which this is right now. So, but when you do the conversion, just do it to 2.3. Don't do it to 3.0, because it'll allow you to do it to 2.3, and it'll run just fine and everything else. But it will not run just fine if you leave it at 2.2.
Where is 2.3 or where is it listed?
Yeah, when is it gonna ask you if you wanna come?
When you first open up the project. So like this, when I first opened up this project, I mean, I don't think I have any other. Well, yeah, actually, I'll open up one from like last semester. So here's a project from last semester. This is a photo library thing we did. So I'm going to open this guy up. When I first open it up, it gives you this, convert to current Swift syntax, and if you click on convert, it'll ask you which version, and you want to select 2.3. Don't select convert later, or else it won't, you know, once you're in Xcode 8, if you select the convert later, and it'll give you build errors.
So even if we're on 8 for both machines, you still want us to convert to 2.3 or?
Yes. For now, because I have not played around with Swift 3 enough to feel confident that I know what the syntax changes are. So I'd hate to have you convert to 3 and then we're groping in class trying to figure it out. So 2.3 is close enough that we can convert to that and we'll be okay. And then once I figure 3 out, then we can do that. So yeah, for right now, just shoot, I want to convert. I want to just.
So Xcode 8 convert to Swift 2.3.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, all right, fine.
Just real quick, on that program, you said to switch division to a double. Now I'm getting a cannot convert return expression of type int to return type double. Where would it be stated that it's an int if I have it as a double up on top? And I
In
change
your probably your function.
I change that to a double as well.
Mm,
But the let number 1 is equal to an int. Do I have to change those? To
yeah,
double?
change those to be doubles. So you can also construct doubles from strings as well. Just the same way you do with an int.
Okay. That
All
took
right.
care of it.
Okay. So moving back to where we were with the MSTC app. So open that guy up. And we'll get moving along with that. We'll try to make this into a somewhat meaningful app. I'm going to run this guy. Pretty sure what we had was we had the image that we pulled off, we pirated, and then we set the background color, and we have a couple controls. Yeah. So what we're going to do next is we're going to place a button on here and have an event that will fire. Let me just make sure. Wow, it's so slow. Do something. There we go. All right, so a couple of things I wanted to cover. One is, if you want to dismiss the keyboard, you can hit the return when you're in the second edit box, and it does. But I wanted to also add the capability so that lots of times when you're in an app, you just want to like dismiss the keyboard, like you want to tap on the background and have it go away. So that's the next thing we're going to do is add that functionality. So if you go into the viewcontroller.swift file, this is where our code is. We have our variables, we have our view did load, we set the background, we create our little line, set the text colors, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so in order to allow the user to dismiss the keyboard if they tap on the background, which is a very common functionality with most apps, what we need to do is implement a base view method. Actually, it comes all the way back to iResponder. If you start typing the word touches, you get a big list that comes up. The second one is touches began. So if you select that and hit enter, that will create the function body for the touches began event. So what this is doing is, this is a very low level routine. So there's various classes that have been created by Apple, such as the tap gesture recognizer, the swipe gesture recognizer, the long press recognizer. Those classes handle different types of touches and stuff that you do to the controls. This guy here, the touches began, is a very low level UI responder event that all UI views have. And since this guy is handling events from our view, it has this available. So the touches began event is what we're going to handle here, and in here we can do the same thing that we did up in the text field should return, where we can say self.view.endEditing. So I'm just going to copy that code out of there and put it down here. So that as soon as they touch the view, the background, it'll dismiss the keyboard. Just so you know, that's one way of dismissing the keyboard. Another way of doing it, although this handles it a lot more nicely because it's all in one line, but if you wanted to only have a certain view dismiss the keyboard, a way you can do that is you can say self.txt password, for example, .resign first responder. So that does the same thing. It resigns control of the keyboard, but we don't need to do that because we're just saying self.view.endEditing, which does the same thing at a more global level. So it gets rid of the keyboard no matter which view has the focus. All right, so now with that change in place, I'm going to rerun it.
Can you slow down just a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Can you go back to your screen and
Sure, I'll just hang on a second. I'm going to go ahead and verify that this worked
It did.
for the edification of all. So yeah, now it goes away. All right, so you wanted to see the method, Glenn?
I'm just trying to make sure I get it in right.
So some things that'll go over with this. It's an override. So the UI view implements this, and our class derives from UI view. So it's an override function. Touches is a set, which is basically it's just like a collection of a specific type. So it's a collection of UI touch objects. And is passing in the event that happened, which so you can get at certain things within the event object, like the location of the touch. And later on, when we do like a drawing app, we'll actually use information that's in the event, so we can map where the user's finger is at on the screen. Okay, everyone good?
Like,
What's that? Oh, what's it say?
expected. It wants, I don't know, a curly bracket or something, but I have it.
Did you just use the IntelliSense and let it?
No.
Okay. All right. Rule of thumb with these methods that are built in, always let Xcode if just insert it in there for you, because lots of times when I try to type it in manually, it's extremely picky. And if there's anything wrong with it, it'll not let it run. All right, so the touches began. That takes care of dismissing the keyboard. All right, so that's good. So the next thing is we need to actually have some sort of functionality. We're not really doing anything yet, so we're going to put a button on here, command button. So I'm going to go back to my storyboard file, main.storyboard. And you can move these guys around in here. It doesn't hurt anything to do that. So if you want to just relocate it so it's easier to get at. And
Yeah, we're having some issues, cause
Like-
I don't have everything on the left side like you do, and she doesn't either.
Like the folder that says MSVC app.
oh, over
Just
here.
has a view controller.swift. So how do I get all that back?
That is with these little panels over on the left-hand side, and then this one up here.
Folder?
This guy up on the top here.
There you
I'm
go.
so old
Okay.
today.
Thank you.
I had that last week. I'm like, I don't understand.
Okay, so can you guys see everything that I have up right now on yours? Okay. Okay, so not to complicate the issue, but I am going to remove this one. I'm just going to slide it back, click on that guy. And then I'm going to click on my assistant editor up here. And that should bring up the view controller source file, which it did. Give myself a little bit more room here. So what we're going to do, oh wait, never mind, I got ahead of myself. Sorry about that. I'm going to close this because we need to put, first you got to put the button on the storyboard before we can go ahead and bring up the source code. So I'm going to bring the panel back out. Down here's our object library. So I want to grab a button object and just drag that over. Place it down underneath your password somewhere with a safe distance between. Okay, and so again, in order to center this guy, what you do is you press the control key and then you drag from the button straight down and release. And you want to select center horizontally in container. That will center it on the screen regardless of what screen size you have. And then double click on the text and just type log in. Okay, so that now will create our button for us. The next thing we'll want to do, so now we have a button on there, but we want to actually wire that guy up to code so that when you tap on it, something happens. So what we'll do now is I'll do what I was originally going to do. I was going to release this panel, bring up the assistant editor by clicking on the two interlocked ring things. And then with the assistant, with the code, with the source file there, storyboard over here, now you can do a control drag like you would normally from the button up here. You can put it anywhere before the methods, so I'm going to actually plop it right before the view to load method. Now this time, instead of us selecting an outlet for the connection, I want to select an action. Okay, so this is going to be an event which in Apple world is an action. And we'll just call this button login pressed. Okay, now the type, this is the type that's going to be passed into the event method. This should be a UI button. Okay, now in another kind of weird thing that Apple does is although it is a single event, when they tap it, Apple breaks that up into different, almost like sub-events. The one that we want is the one they have selected here, touch up inside. There's all these other ones. There's drags, there's editing, there's value change. We want the touch up inside, which is the standard event that fires when a user taps on something. And that's all we need. Bless you. Argument sender. and then click connect, and then that will create the IB action for you.
Can you repeat what type is supposed to be again?
The type should be a UI button.
Okay.
If it's not, if you accidentally used any object, that's okay. It's not going to hurt. The reason why you would want this to be a UI button instead of an any object is in the case where you want to use the parameter that's getting passed in, and you don't want to have to typecast it. All right, so now we have a method skeleton to handle when they tap on that button. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some real basic like validation on what they've entered for name and password, just to make sure they're valid values. So now what we'll do is we will create a class function inside our class. So if you come down below the last function, the touches began that we added, and create a new func. And we'll say, we'll call this login validate. And this guy doesn't need any parameters, but we are going to return a bool, a true false, indicating whether or not the login is validated. And you get an error because it has to return something. So just to satisfy the compiler for now, I just return true. I'll give you guys a second to do that.
I did not like that.
I'm getting an error on the one above it too now.
Okay.
Oh, I see the already. Dirt.
What was your problem? Because maybe Glenn had the same issue.
Oh, I forgot my brackets.
Okay.
That's all I did, is I just forgot brackets.
Okay.
Well, this one is the text.
Yeah, there's no bool.
What's this one? But I'm getting a yellow triangle on var view.
Yeah, I got that too. It shows it should be something else.
Changes to let.
And that is
Changes to let on his.
I
Instead
have
of bar.
bar. Yeah, I have
Where-
I use it both ways.
which
But
variable?
I changed mine to let and it works.
Which where are you getting that, Glenn? Is it in the?
Let right there. So ours says bar
Okay.
view,
Right.
and I had the error, so I saw you had it as let instead of bar.
Okay, so what they're complaining about is what they're saying is you don't need to have it a variable type because you're not modifying. I think this is something we discussed at the very end of the class last week. We changed this to a let so that it wouldn't complain, you wouldn't get the warning. I thought it was kind of weird because you're modifying the background color of the view, which in my way of thinking you should have a var, but it wants to use a let and it still works, so yeah, so that just needs to be a let. So again, the let is a const type and a var is a variable type. So down in our login validate, so now we have this, again, another method skeleton, but we need to actually add some logic in here. So we have our text fields, our name field and our password field, our class variables, txt name and txt password. So for our validation, what we'll do right now, since we don't have a connection to a database or anything like that to actually truly validate, what we can do is we can just say, all right, a return statement. What we're going to do is we're going to check to see that the name field, the text in there, and the property is just txtname.text. So that is and I need that to be in uppercase T. That, again, is a string, but in order to get the length of the string, okay, not liking. Expected member name following. There we go. Lowercase t. Txt name.text.characters. It gives us the individual characters in the string, and then you take the count. That gives you the total number. So we'll check to see that the number of characters in the name field is greater than, we'll say 5. And then I'm going to also, using the AND operator, so both these conditions have to be true for it to be a valid login. Txt password dot characters, dot text.
That text, right?
Yep. All right. And I'm probably going to add a question mark to that as well, or exclamation point. And then this guy we just get rid of, the return true.
Why did you use an exclamation point on one and question mark on the other?
Because it told me to.
I used 2 question marks, so,
Did you, and it worked okay?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it suggested why it wanted the mandatory unwrapping. Should work with a question mark, and it looks like it does. It recommended the exclamation point, so I just used it, but. All right. So that should, so now we can go ahead and test that out and see what happens. Oh wait, no, first we got to call it. So in the in our IB action up here, a button login press. Say let be valid equals self dot login validate. And let's see what it's complaining about this time. I'm not going to do that. All right, so you can ignore the warning. It won't hurt anything. I'm going to ignore that for now. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and, okay, so how can you tell if it worked or not? We'll need to have a notification for the user, but that's going to take a little bit of work. For right now, I'm just going to put a print statement in here. And then up here, I'll put a breakpoint so I can actually see it, and then I'm going to run it. If you ever want to like look at your output and you have like a bunch of stuff, if you click on the garbage can, that clears the output.
How do you add the breakpoint?
You just click in the gutter over here in the yellow, that gray area, and then that puts it there.
Oh,
Could you scroll down just a little bit? I'm still having an error on the function text field should return. I just want to look at that.
I have a
Okay.
class, red one signal Sigabert.
Yeah, that means that the program upended while it was running. What does it give you any other information other than the signal board?
No.
All right. I'll see if maybe I'll get the same thing. We'll see.
I have no idea what I'm doing. That was weird.
This one?
So don't succeed. Yeah, mine breaks
Does it
each
matter
time.
that this one is above this one?
I don't know.
This is an override function.
It doesn't do anything really. Let's see if that's not there. Yeah, hold on, I got it.
Wait a second.
Here,
Yes,
back
I have this in.
in. Yeah, red color.
Oh, yeah, you have a duplicate.
I don't know which one to start with.
You should get the
So this is what I'm saying,
It crashes.
add breakpoint.
That's so weird.
Add one there. I won't have one
Did
Yeah,
you do
variable
anything?
declaration it won't.
What?
Did
You
you
should
do
have the
it?
break on mine ran, and then
Right, that's exactly where I
with the
was
breakpoint,
going.
it says like
It's possible that you compile it after you
bool,
have
or
different.
valid, bool.
I didn't do anything
Equals
after
true.
I added this.
Well, I've got
Do a
another one
build
open here.
because it
How do I
doesn't
close
recognize
this
the line
one
you're
out?
on.
Close that.
So go to
Yeah, I
product.
think that's similar.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's breaking, it's got a similar running already. Either I mistyped something somewhere along the line, but I'm not getting any errors.
Try just dragging that one that you have there up on line. Click on and drag it. Yeah. I'm not sure why. Yeah. I don't know why it wouldn't let you just put one there. Is yours fixed?
No, I get it just gives the,
Oh, you still get the signal? Well, let me see if I get it too, because maybe it's something wrong with it.
well, this works, it's something in mine, but I don't know what.
All right.
What kind of ouch?
I don't even get to that where I can do anything, so that's why.
What kind of output do you
Oh, my login button's like way up on the top. Is your login button way up here? Or is it
My
actually?
login button's not showing up at all.
Mine showed up correctly. But when with the breakpoint, if I put in like a password or a username or whatever, then in the console it said valid equals bool true.
Okay.
Mine, you need that exclamation point, not the question mark. It doesn't like it otherwise.
Okay, mine's ran okay, but my login button's up in the Netherlands, so they're not sure why that's up there.
How do you undo the centering?
You can just go and do the, so if you go to storyboard file and here in the storyboard, if you come over to these constraints over here, where it says constraints,
I don't like
Um,
why it breaks. It drives me nuts.
where it says image logo center, anything that says center, you can just delete these basically. If you select it and then hit delete, it'll remove it.
Mine still breaks, and I don't have any errors that I can find.
Okay. I will get back to this issue. I think the issue that I have with the login button being way up at the top is an Xcode 8 thing, because it was fine previously. So I think that has something to do with Xcode 8.
I'm just trying to see if I have some kind of difference in yours. So that looks the same here.
So when does it give you the signal?
So it doesn't mean it just goes like this. Oh. Right.
Okay, so it app startup it does, right? So drag this gap so you can see what all your error stuff is down here. Oh my gosh, it just keeps blew up the world. So let's scroll down here. We'll scroll up to the top though. Set you to the this class is not key. Okay, so at least that isolates it down to the source, which is button something with button login process method.
We
It's
just
gotta be
did
greater
that.
than 5.
Okay, so this guy,
So this one?
yeah.
Was it under UI button? Is that
No, that's fine.
B self equals self dot login validate, which is what you have.
That's all.
Print key validate.
Now, something wrong with the method signature itself. But this, there's a different name here. This says login pressed, and you have pressed.
Oh,
You have
Okay.
two, you have another one by that name?
well, I dragged it over and deleted it before. I'm gonna hit delete.
Yeah, probably. So what you need to do is if you create an ID action like that,
Yeah.
you wanna delete it, you gotta delete it from two spots. You gotta delete it in the code,
Sure.
and then go to, open up your panel up here, this guy. And go to the outlet inspector. Alright, yeah, you got two different handlers for the touch up inside, one of which was deleted.
That was good. Okay.
Okay, so now try it again.
So,
You can just go ahead and run it.
two spots.
Yep.
Good to know.
So this is a
I
good.
missed that. What was it? I dragged it over and dropped it and had something wrong the first time I dragged it over and dropped it. So then I went and just deleted it out of the code. But you gotta delete it in another spot too.
All right, so I might possibly delete the wrong one. So stop it and just go back. Here's what we do. This is a good, another great learning experience. So yeah, so go, yep, bring that guy out. Go to the storyboard file. You need to go to the storyboard. That's the launch screen.
The main
The main
storyboard.
that storyboard is.
Oh.
Yep, there you go. And then delete this guy.
Delete both of them, then go back
Yeah.
and you just delete it all.
Now you can leave that. You can leave the actual function body. So then now what you do is press the control key, and this guy click and drag over with the left button. Click and drag over and keep going over to where it says button login, and then drop it. So that rewires it.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Do a clean. Go to product clean. Removes all the files. Now do
It's not
product
working?
build.
Oh, mine's worked.
Oh wait, you gotta press.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, there's something weird with that. This guy.
Oh yeah, there's this one I know.
That's an outlet that I think you tried to define as an action. Okay, now do the. Just do go ahead and try running it.
I had dropped it over like maybe several times. Yeah.
That's okay. It's all right. Not even- So, all right, now actually that's a good thing to show everyone. I gotta fix my problem with my login
Well, I
button.
don't even have that. Actually,
When we did stuff with the
That's really good. No, what you want this? Let me see.
done. You know the one that-
all night.
Succeeded. Let's go here.
That's so
I
weird.
think it was just something you clicked from up here, but
Not.
Yeah, I know, but now let me think, there's a way to change the size.
probably doesn't say it.
How do you make it so it's a smaller picture again up there? Like,
Oh, this.
yeah.
Go to window and scale.
That's what it was.
All right, so Adam just encountered a problem that can really cause you extreme headache and anguish and lamentations. I know that because students have had this problem every semester. So let's say that I'm going to go ahead and stop this guy. Let's say that you have a method defined, an action like we just did with that button. So you have an IB action up here, this guy, the button login pressed, and say you goof something up with it and you want to get rid of it, and so you delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy. It's like, okay, everything should be cool now. Save it, and then I'm going to rerun. And it should be okay because that code's not getting called anymore. It was just an event handler, and I'm not handling the event now, so it should be okay. And of course it works, interestingly, so I think this might be another Xcode 8 difference.
So it'll actually handle it rather than instead of goes boom.
Yeah, it actually handled it instead of going boom, which is really amazing. So that's an improvement, if anything, but all right, so I'm going to come over here. Yeah, that's got to be a change because, all right, so what I was going to point out, but my little demo didn't work the way I intended, On Xcode 7.3, if you do what I just did and you remove the code for the handler, but you leave it in here, you notice it still shows up in here. I have my button login pressed, still shows up for the event. If you did that in 7.3 or prior, and then you went and ran it, it would blow up like it did for Adam. So what you have to do is remove it from both spots, which I'm going to do. But now apparently with Xcode 8 you can leave that dangling action touch up inside handler and it will still run. But I wonder, I should have actually not deleted it, because I wonder what happened if I redefined it so I would have had two of them. Then maybe it would have done what yours did. So I'm just going to recreate that handler. I'll just put it up here for now. What I could do is I could try creating two of them though to see what happens. Be valid equals self dot login validate.
Oh. Right.
All right. Anyway, so just an aside there, but if you upgrade to Xcode 8, I don't think it'd be a problem. But either way, it's good practice. If you create one of these guys and you don't like it, remove it in the code, go into your outlet inspector, and also remove it from over here. That way it cleans it up, because I still think you may get a crash if you recreate the thing in code and then you wire it up, because then you'll have two handlers for the same event, and I think that would still cause an issue. In fact, I could try that. I'm going to try that right now. Because I'm dying of curiosity. All right. So now I do not have it in the code, but I do have it over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewire this guy. I'm going to recreate it, but call it something different. All right, so I created a new method called button login tapped. So now over here, I have two handlers for the same event. Now let's see if it blows up. If it doesn't, that means they really cleaned up Xcode, because this is the same condition you had, Adam. Nope.
Oh, I like it now.
They fixed it. So
That's kind of nice.
yeah. So you could have like 3 or 4 of these defined, and it'll just pick the one that's right. All right, so I'm gonna delete this guy. All right.
Button login tab looks like it's spelled wrong.
Yeah, it is, but I'm gonna leave it. All right. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do probably